My name is Flora Thompson, and at 32 years old, I was the invisible backbone of TechNexus. For 6 years, I built the security architecture that protected our flagship product, pouring my soul into code that would soon power a $90 million investor demo. I believed my dedication would finally earn me the recognition I deserved. Instead, my boss Matthew laughed in my face when I mentioned promotion, not realizing that without me, his perfect presentation would never launch. If you have ever been overlooked despite your hard work, stick around and drop a comment below about where you are watching from. Make sure to subscribe, because what happened next changed the entire tech industry in our city. I graduated from MIT with honors, having fallen in love with coding when I was 12. My parents bought me my first computer, and within 6 months I had built my own website. By high school, I was designing apps that my classmates used for study groups and event planning. My professors at MIT recognized my talent, especially in security systems, and several tech companies recruited me before graduation. TechNexus was my dream company, a cutting-edge artificial intelligence firm valued at $1.2 billion. They were revolutionizing how businesses integrated machine learning into everyday operations. Their headquarters, a gleaming glass building in downtown Seattle, represented everything I aspired to. When they offered me a position as a junior engineer, I accepted immediately despite higher salary offers from competitors. My specialty became developing and maintaining the authentication and security module for their systems. This wasn't just any login screen. Our clients included government agencies, financial institutions, and healthcare systems that required impenetrable security while maintaining seamless user experiences. I built a proprietary system that verified identities across multiple parameters without adding friction for users. It was complex, elegant, and entirely my creation. The company culture appeared progressive from the outside. Their marketing materials showcased diversity, and they sponsored women in tech conferences. The reality inside was different. Key decisions happened during golf outings and late-night drinks that female employees rarely attended. Technical ideas from women received polite nods in meetings only to be repackaged later by male colleagues who received enthusiastic support. Matthew Reynolds became my direct supervisor 3 years ago when he was hired as vice president of product development. 45 years old with an MBA from Stanford, he had minimal technical background but excelled at presenting to executives and investors. He quickly developed a reputation for taking credit for his team's innovations. His standard practice was asking detailed questions about our projects, then presenting those same ideas in executive meetings as his own insights. Samantha Chen became my closest ally at TechNexus. A brilliant data scientist who experienced similar frustrations, she often confirmed that my ideas appeared in Matthew's presentations without attribution. We supported each other through countless disappointments, texting encouragement before important meetings, and debriefing afterward over coffee. Eric Garcia, our CEO, remained a distant figure who interacted mainly with the executive team. I had spoken with him perhaps 5 times in 6 years, despite creating core technology that powered their main revenue stream. He seemed unaware of the contributions of anyone below director level. James Wilson, vice president of engineering, was different. With a computer science background, he recognized technical excellence and occasionally commented positively on my code reviews. However, his department operated separately from product development, limiting his influence over my career path. The next-gen platform became our flagship project 2 years ago. This revolutionary system would integrate artificial intelligence into business operations, seamlessly making predictive analytics accessible to companies without specialized data science teams. My authentication module formed the security foundation of the entire platform. Without it, the system couldn't verify users, protect sensitive data, or maintain compliance with international regulations. What Matthew never understood was that I had built this module with intentional complexity, not to make it difficult for users, but to ensure robust security through layers of protection. I documented everything meticulously, but certain elements required intuitive knowledge that only comes from building something from scratch. In other words, nobody else fully understood how all parts of my system worked together. This wasn't deliberate obfuscation, just the reality of complex software architecture. My performance reviews consistently rated me as exceptional. Year after year, I exceeded every metric and delivered critical features ahead of schedule. These reviews came with significant bonuses, but never the promotion I deserved. 3 years running, Matthew assured me that a management position was coming soon, Each time the explanation for the delay changed slightly. Once the company was restructuring. Another time budget constraints limited new management positions. Last year he suggested I needed more leadership experience despite my having mentored 4 junior engineers and led 3 successful project teams. The pattern became clear. Male colleagues with less experience and shorter tenure received promotions while I remained in the same position, albeit with a more impressive title and higher salary. Senior software engineer sounded prestigious, but lacked the decision-making authority that came with management roles. After each disappointment I considered leaving. Recruiters contacted me regularly with enticing offers. Something always held me back. Pride in the system I had built hoped that recognition would eventually come, and increasingly a determination not to be pushed out of the company I had helped build. Each time I resolved to work harder, demonstrate my value more clearly, and make myself impossible to overlook. The next-gen platform had become my legacy at TechNexus. I had built its security foundation from the ground up, and no one else understood it completely. Little did I know how significant that fact would become. 6 months before the investor demo, my life became all about perfecting my module. The company announced a $90 million funding round with venture capitalists who could catapult us toward an initial public offering. The demonstration needed to be flawless. I canceled my planned vacation to Hawaii, explaining to my parents that this project could define my career. They understood but worried about my work-life balance. My relationship with Thomas ended after he grew tired of canceled dates and late-night emergencies at the office. I missed my sister's baby shower because a critical bug appeared the same weekend. My commitment to TechNexus became absolute, my social life non-existent. 80-hour weeks became normal. I arrived before 7 each morning and rarely left before 9 at night. Weekends disappeared into testing sessions and code refinements. I ordered delivery to my desk and kept a change of clothes in my office. The security module had to be perfect because it would authenticate every other system component during the demo. If it failed, nothing else would work. Matthew increased his attention to my project as the deadline approached. Suddenly, he wanted daily updates instead of weekly reports. He began sitting in on technical meetings he previously skipped. Most telling, he started asking detailed questions about how specific functions worked. I explained everything clearly, believing his interest indicated recognition of my module's importance. During an executive preview 3 months before the investor demo, Matthew presented my security system to the leadership team. I sat in the back row expecting acknowledgement. Instead, he referred to his security approach and the authentication solution my team developed. Not once did he mention my name or contribution. When the chief technology officer asked a technical question, Matthew looked to me for the answer, then rephrased my whispered response as his own. Afterward, Samantha found me in the bathroom, hands shaking with anger. "He does this to all the women engineers," she said. "Remember Jasmine from the machine learning team?" Same thing happened before she left. I decided to speak with human resources. Diane from HR listened sympathetically but offered little concrete support. "Documentation is important," she advised. "Keep records of your contributions. But also remember that engineering is collaborative. Everyone builds on each other's work." Her response felt rehearsed, designed to diffuse complaints without addressing them. My investigation into company history revealed a pattern. Rachel Stevens, formerly Senior Director of Engineering, had left the company 2 years earlier under mysterious circumstances. Her LinkedIn profile mentioned seeking more inclusive leadership opportunities as her reason for departure. Through the company wiki, I discovered her technical notes on projects similar to mine. Her documentation style mirrored mine, meticulous and thorough. In one archived email thread, she questioned why her name was omitted from a patent application for technology she developed. Daily microaggressions accumulated like paper cuts. Male colleagues interrupted me in meetings. Ideas I proposed received minimal discussion until restated by men. Technical debates ended, with comments about being too emotional about code architecture. Each incident seemed minor in isolation, but together they formed an unmistakable pattern of marginalization. As the annual review period approached, coinciding with the week of our investor demo, I prepared extensively. I compiled documentation of every feature I had implemented, every bug I had fixed, and every deadline I had met. I created a slide deck quantifying my contributions to the next-gen platform. I practiced my talking points about leadership and strategic thinking. This year would be different. My contributions were too significant to ignore. The investor demo scheduled for Thursday added pressure to the review process. Venture capitalists from 3 major firms would witness our technology in action, with $90 million contingent on a successful demonstration. The entire company buzzed with nervous energy. 2 days before my review, Matthew requested yet another feature addition to my module. The investors specifically asked about multi-factor authentication across mobile devices, he explained. Can you implement that by Thursday? I stayed until midnight, adding the feature, testing it thoroughly, and updating documentation. The system now required my specific security credentials to authorize the demonstration pathway. This wasn't unusual for development environments where creator accounts often had special privileges. The evening before my review, Samantha texted me. Whatever happens tomorrow, remember your worth. They need your brilliance more than you need their approval. Her message touched me, but also triggered unease. Why would she assume bad news? That night I barely slept. Something felt wrong about the situation, but I couldn't identify what. Matthew's increased attention to technical details. His urgent feature requests the timing of the review, just before the critical demo. All pieces of a puzzle I couldn't yet assemble. Morning arrived with a mixture of hope and dread. I chose my outfit carefully, a charcoal gray suit that projected confidence and professionalism. As I drove to the office, I rehearsed discussing my accomplishments, without seeming boastful. Today would be the day my contributions received proper recognition. It had to be. The office atmosphere felt electric that morning. Everyone knew the $90 million investor demo scheduled for tomorrow had the potential to transform the company. Several colleagues nodded approvingly at my professional attire, assuming correctly that my review would include promotion discussions. Looking sharp, Flora, said Derek from the front-end team. Management material for sure. Samantha met me at the elevator with coffee. You deserve this, she said, squeezing my arm. Text me the moment you finish. Matthew had scheduled our meeting for 9:30 in his corner office, overlooking the city skyline. I arrived 5 minutes early, portfolio containing my accomplishments in hand. Through the glass walls, I could see him checking his phone, seemingly relaxed. He waved me in with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Flora, good morning. Great suit, he gestured to the chair across from his desk. Thank you. I sat down, placing my portfolio on the table between us. I prepared some documentation of my contributions to the next-gen platform. Always prepared, he nodded. That's what makes you such a valuable asset to the engineering team. We spent the first 10 minutes reviewing technical accomplishments. Matthew praised my code quality, my attention to detail, and my ability to deliver complex features on schedule. He mentioned the security module's importance to tomorrow's demonstration, calling it a critical component of our presentation. Which brings me to the purpose of our meeting, I said, steering the conversation toward my prepared points. I believe my contributions demonstrate readiness for the Director of Security Systems role we discussed last year. Matthew's expression shifted subtly. He leaned back in his chair, creating physical distance. About that. You're an excellent asset to the technical team, Flora. Your coding skills are exceptional. The word but hung unspoken between us. I felt my stomach tighten. However, he continued, at TechNexus, we promote leaders. People who inspire teams, drive innovation, and connect with executives and clients. You just don't have it. The dismissive tone shocked me more than the words. 6 years of dedication reduced to you just don't have it. I've led 3 project teams, I responded, keeping my voice steady. I've mentored 4 junior engineers who are now key contributors. I've presented technical architecture to clients who specifically requested my involvement in their implementations. Matthew laughed, a short, dismissive chuckle that made my face burn. Those are technical accomplishments, Flora. Leadership requires presence, strategic vision, and emotional intelligence. Your response, now getting defensive rather than accepting feedback, demonstrates exactly what I'm talking about. My hands trembled slightly as I opened my portfolio. I've documented instances of strategic contributions here, including the authentication approach that's now our competitive advantage. Let me be direct, Matthew interrupted. Brad Thompson will be promoted to Director of Security Systems effective next week. He demonstrates the leadership qualities we need moving forward. Brad Thompson, 2 years at the company to my 6. Technical skills that required regular assistance from senior engineers, including me. His main qualifications seemed to be attending happy hours with executives and playing golf with Matthew on weekends. Brad has half my technical experience, I said, struggling to keep accusation from my tone. He's consulted me on security architecture decisions multiple times. This reaction proves my point, Matthew sighed. Technical expertise isn't leadership. Brad connects with people. He understands the big picture beyond code. The real message became clear. Brad looked and acted like the existing leadership team. He belonged to their club. I did not. I understand, I said, closing my portfolio. Further argument would only reinforce his perception of emotional reactivity. Good, Matthew nodded, relieved by my apparent acceptance. Your technical contributions remain valuable. Focus on what you do best, the coding where you truly excel. Support Brad during tomorrow's demo, ensure the security module performs flawlessly, and continue being a technical asset to the team. The meeting concluded with platitudes about future opportunities and continued growth. Each word felt like another weight added to my shoulders. I nodded mechanically, no longer hearing specific phrases through the roaring in my ears. The walk back through the open office became a gauntlet. Colleagues watched curiously, reading the outcome on my face. Someone whispered. Another person quickly looked away. News would spread through the company within hours. Samantha intercepted me near my desk. Conference room 3, she whispered, guiding me toward an empty meeting space. Once inside, she closed the door. What happened? I recounted the conversation mechanically, still processing the magnitude of the betrayal. 6 years of dedication dismissed in minutes. My contributions claimed by others. My future at the company suddenly clear, a permanent position as a technical resource, without decision-making authority or leadership recognition. That absolute bastard, Samantha fumed. Brad Thompson. The guy who needed your help to configure basic security protocols. I can't stay here, I said, the realization crystallizing. Not for the demo tomorrow, not ever again. Take the day, Samantha agreed. Clear your head. We'll figure out next steps when you're ready. I gathered my belongings quickly, my laptop, notebook, and the small plant that had lived on my desk for 3 years. I didn't say goodbye to anyone. I couldn't bear their pity, or worse, their obliviousness to the injustice. In the parking garage, I sat in my car for several minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel. Matthew's laugh echoed in my mind. You just don't have it. 6 years of dedication reduced to 5 dismissive words. I drove home in a daze, barely registering the familiar route. Tomorrow they would present my work as their innovation. Brad would stand on stage taking credit for my creation. Matthew would introduce his team's security solution to investors, ready to commit $90 million based largely on technology I had built. And they expected me to smile and support them through it all. The drive home passed in a blur. Traffic lights, other cars. Even the radio, playing softly, all faded into background noise against the replay of Matthew's laugh in my mind. You just don't have it. The casual cruelty of those words cut deeper with each repetition. My apartment felt strange in the middle of a workday. Sunlight streamed through windows usually dark when I left for early meetings or returned from late-night coding sessions. I placed my laptop on the kitchen counter and finally allowed the tears to come. 6 years of dedication. Countless weekends sacrificed. A relationship ended because I prioritized the company. All for what? To remain a technical asset while others claimed credit for my innovations. After the initial emotional release, a strange calm settled over me. I made tea, a simple routine that provided comfort through familiarity. As the kettle boiled, I opened my laptop and signed into my company email for what might be the last time. I began searching through archived messages, compiling evidence of my contributions. There, in an email from last September, Matthew explicitly asked me to explain the authentication architecture in simple terms so he could present it to the executive team. Another message showed him requesting technical details about the security module for the investor pitch deck. Most damning, an email from the chief technology officer congratulating Matthew on your team's innovative approach to multi-factor authentication with me, merely copied rather than addressed. Each message confirmed what I already knew. My work had been systematically claimed by others, my contributions minimized or attributed to the team, while specific credit went to male colleagues, particularly Matthew. As anger replaced hurt, I considered my options. I could file a formal complaint with Human Resources, but Diane's earlier response suggested little support there. I could contact an employment attorney, but legal battles drained energy and resources with uncertain outcomes. I could simply resign, find another position, and leave TechNexus behind. None of these options addressed the immediate issue: tomorrow's investor demo, where my work would once again be presented as someone else's innovation. That's when realization struck me with stunning clarity. My security module controlled access to every component of the next-gen platform. Without it functioning properly, the entire demonstration would fail, and nobody else fully understood how it worked. I opened my development environment and examined the authentication system. As the creator, I had administrator privileges that allowed system configuration changes that would be virtually invisible to other engineers because they resided in sections of code that only I regularly accessed. The ethical implications weighed heavily. Deliberately sabotaging the demo could damage the company, affecting hundreds of employees, including friends like Samantha. It might also have legal repercussions for me. But there was a middle path, one that asserted my ownership without causing permanent harm. I could implement a timer, a simple mechanism that would pause the authentication module after 12 hours. Not disabling it permanently, not destroying data, simply requiring manual restart with proper credentials that only I possessed. My hands hovered over the keyboard. This action crossed a line I had never approached before. Yet Matthew had crossed his own line, dismissing years of dedication with a laugh and a few cruel words. Decision made, I began coding. The modification was elegant in its simplicity. A timer function already existed for security purposes, automatically logging users out after periods of inactivity. I simply added a system-wide application of this feature set to activate at 10:30 tomorrow morning, 30 minutes into the scheduled demonstration. When activated, the system would display a standard message: authentication module paused for security verification. Administrator credentials required. Nothing alarming, nothing that explicitly indicated intervention. It would appear to be a routine security feature, albeit one activating at an extremely inconvenient moment. I tested the code thoroughly, ensuring it would cause no data loss or permanent damage. The change required my personal authentication to implement, making it untraceable to casual inspection. Only a deep forensic analysis of the system logs would reveal the modification, and even then it could be explained as a security precaution. At 3:15 in the afternoon, I uploaded the modified code to the production environment, a simple commit message: final security verification for investor demonstration. Nothing suspicious, nothing that would trigger concerns. The system accepted the change without alerts or errors. I closed my laptop, disconnected my company phone, and turned off all notifications. Whatever happened next, I needed distance and clarity. I took a sleeping pill, something I rarely did, and went to bed early. The emotional exhaustion combined with medication pulled me into dreamless sleep within minutes. For the first time in months, no alarm would wake me for early meetings. No late-night texts would interrupt my rest with urgent requests. Tomorrow would unfold according to forces I had set in motion, and I would face the consequences, whatever they might be. As consciousness faded, a final thought surfaced. I hadn't destroyed anything. I had simply ensured that my contribution could not be used without my involvement. If they wanted my work, they would have to acknowledge me. The decision brought unexpected peace. Whatever happened next, I had reclaimed some measure of control over my creation and my professional dignity. The insistent buzzing of my phone dragged me from deep sleep. Disoriented, I reached for it automatically before remembering yesterday's events. The screen displayed 67 missed calls, 43 text messages, and 39 email notifications. The current time, 11:15 in the morning. The investor demonstration had been underway for over an hour. Messages ranged from casual to desperate. Brad, 9:15 a.m. Hey, where are you? Matthew is looking for you before the demo. Samantha, 9:40 a.m. Are you okay? Everyone's asking where you are. James Wilson, 10:35 a.m. Flora, we need you at the office immediately. Critical system issue. Matthew, 10:40 a.m. Whatever you did, fix it now. This is your career. Matthew, 10:50 a.m. Call me immediately, or you're fired. James Wilson had called 23 times. Matthew, 16. Even Eric Garcia, the CEO, had called twice. The most recent message from James 5 minutes ago simply read, "Please call me. Company future at stake." Curiosity overcame reluctance. I opened my laptop and checked technology news sites. TechCrunch featured the headline, "TechNexus Investor Demo, halted by technical difficulties. Another industry blog reported $90 million TechNexus funding round in jeopardy after failed demonstration. Social media overflowed with speculation. Former colleagues expressed support through private messages, several guessing accurately what had happened. "Whatever you did, I'm with you," wrote Jasmine, who had left after similar treatment. I watched the company's stock price drop 12% in morning trading. Analysts questioned whether the technical issues indicated deeper problems with the next-gen platform. The phone buzzed again. James Wilson, Vice President of Engineering. After brief consideration, I answered. Flora relief flooded his voice. "Thank God. We need you here immediately." "I'm no longer with the company," I replied calmly. "Matthew made that clear yesterday." "What are you talking about? You weren't fired." "Not officially, but when you tell someone they'll never advance because they just don't have it, while promoting someone with half their experience and accomplishments, the message is clear." Silence followed. Then, the authentication module stopped working in the middle of the demonstration. "The entire system is locked. The error message indicates administrator credentials are required, credentials only you have." "That's unfortunate," I kept my tone neutral. "Flora," his voice cracked with stress. 3 venture capital firms walked out. $90 million just vanished. The board has called an emergency meeting. Please just tell us what to do." "I'll need to speak with Eric directly," I said. "Not Matthew, not HR, the CEO." James didn't hesitate. "He's right here. I'm putting you on speaker." Eric Garcia's voice came through tense but controlled. "Flora, this is Eric. Whatever issues you have with the company, we can resolve them, but we need the system operational immediately." "I'd be happy to help," I replied. "But first, I need acknowledgement of several facts. My security module forms the foundation of the next-gen platform. I designed and built it primarily alone. For 3 years, Matthew has presented my work as his own or as team efforts while minimizing my contributions." "That's not relevant right now," Eric began. "It's entirely relevant," I interrupted. "Yesterday, Matthew told me I lack leadership qualities while promoting Brad Thompson to oversee the security systems I built. Brad, who has needed my help repeatedly to understand basic security protocols." Muffled conversation occurred away from the phone. I waited patiently. "What do you want?" Eric finally asked. "Recognition advancement based on merit and addressing of systematic issues that push women like me to the sidelines while men take credit for our work." More muffled discussion. I heard Matthew's voice rising, though I couldn't distinguish words. "The board is meeting in 1 hour," Eric said. "Can you come to the office for direct discussion of your concerns?" "I'll be there," I agreed. "But I'll need written confirmation that this meeting constitutes formal recognition of my concerns, not disciplinary action." "You'll have it in 15 minutes, Eric promised. I ended the call and immediately received a text from Samantha. "Holy shit. The system just displayed administrator verification required in the middle of Matthew's presentation." His face turned white. Investors walked out. "What did you do?" "Created leverage," I replied. "Meeting the board in an hour." "You're my hero," she responded. "Need backup?" "Maybe. Stand by." While preparing to return to the office, I received another call, this time from Rachel Stevens, the former senior director who had left under mysterious circumstances. "I don't know exactly what you did," she said without preamble, "but industry channels are buzzing. Matthew apparently had a meltdown when the system locked during the demonstration." "I reclaimed ownership of my work," I explained. "Meeting the board soon." "Document everything," she advised, "and call me afterward. Other women need to know this story." The email from Eric arrived as promised, confirming the meeting would address my concerns about recognition and advancement, not potential disciplinary action. I forwarded it to my personal email for safekeeping. Driving to the office felt surreal. 24 hours earlier, I had left humiliated and defeated. Now I returned with unexpected power. Not to destroy, but to correct an injustice that had persisted too long. The security guard nodded respectfully as I entered, suggesting news of my pivotal role had spread throughout the building. The elevator ride to the executive floor gave me moments to center myself. This confrontation would define my professional future at TechNexus or elsewhere. James Wilson waited by the elevator. "Thank you for coming," he said, tension evident in his posture. "The board is assembled in the main conference room." "Who's present?" I asked, matching his brisk pace down the hallway. "Full executive team minus Matthew. He's been asked to wait separately until called." James lowered his voice. "Between us, his handling of this situation has raised serious concerns at the highest levels." The conference room doors opened to reveal the company leadership gathered around the massive table. Eric Garcia stood as I entered. "Flora, thank you for joining us. Please have a seat." The next hour would determine whether justice was possible in a system built to exclude voices like mine. I squared my shoulders and stepped forward, ready to speak truth to power and reclaim my rightful place. The executive conference room fell silent as I took my seat. 9 people watched me intently, their expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. The room's floor-to-ceiling windows showcased Seattle's skyline, a view normally reserved for the company's highest echelons. Eric Garcia opened the discussion. "Flora, we're facing a critical situation. The investor demonstration failed completely when the authentication module shut down. These investors represent $90 million in funding essential to our continued growth." "I understand the situation's gravity," I replied calmly. "Before we discuss technical solutions, I need to address why we're in this position." I opened my laptop and connected it to the room's display system. The screen showed a folder containing hundreds of emails, project documentation, and meeting notes. Evidence compiled over years of systematic marginalization. For 3 years, I've built and maintained the security architecture that forms the foundation of the next-gen platform. During that time, my contributions have been consistently attributed to others, particularly Matthew Reynolds. I displayed an email where Matthew explicitly asked me for technical details in simple terms for his presentation to the board. Another showed him presenting my authentication design to investors as his team's innovative approach. Yesterday, despite 6 years of exceptional performance, Matthew informed me that I lack leadership qualities and would not receive the promised promotion to Director of Security Systems. Instead, Brad Thompson, with 2 years at the company and limited security expertise, received the position. Several board members exchanged glances. Janet Phillips, the only female board member, leaned forward. "Were there documented performance issues that would explain this decision?" "None," I stated firmly. "My performance reviews have been consistently exceptional. I've received maximum bonus payouts every year based on objective metrics." I displayed my recent performance evaluations, highlighting the exceeds expectations ratings across all categories. "If I may," James Wilson interjected, "Flora's technical contributions have been extraordinary. Her security module is arguably the most advanced component of our platform. Nobody else fully understands its architecture." Eric Garcia's expression remained neutral. "That brings us to the current situation. What exactly happened during the demonstration?" "The authentication module includes a security verification timer," I explained. "This feature ensures system integrity by requiring administrator credentials after certain intervals. This is standard practice in high-security environments like those of our government and financial clients." This explanation, while technically accurate, omitted that I had intentionally activated this feature at the demonstration's critical moment. Nobody in the room challenged the statement. "Can you restore system functionality immediately?" Eric asked. "I can," I confirmed. "But first we need to address the underlying issues that brought us here." The Chief Financial Officer, Martin Brooks, interjected. "With all due respect, the immediate priority is recovering the investor demonstration and securing funding." With equal respect, I countered, "The priority is acknowledging that TechNexus has systematically allowed certain executives to claim credit for women's work while blocking their advancement." I displayed an analysis of promotion patterns over the past 5 years, highlighting the disparity between male and female engineers. The data showed women remaining in technical roles, while men with similar or lesser qualifications advanced to leadership positions. Janet Phillips studied the information intently. "This pattern is concerning. Have other female engineers reported similar experiences?" "Many have left rather than fight a system designed to marginalize them," I replied. Rachel Stevens, Jasmine Park, Diana Rodriguez, all brilliant engineers who departed after watching their innovations attributed to male colleagues. James Wilson nodded reluctantly. "There have been concerning patterns in attribution and advancement." The room fell silent as board members processed this information. The $90 million investment hung in the balance, but larger questions about company culture had emerged. Eric Garcia broke the silence. "What are your terms for resolving this situation, Flora?" First, appropriate recognition of my contributions to the next-gen platform, including proper attribution in all investor and client materials. Second, promotion to Director of Security Systems, the position promised for 3 years and recently given to Brad Thompson. Third, a company-wide review of promotion practices and credit attribution, with specific attention to gender disparities. Martin Brooks began to object, but Janet Phillips raised her hand. These seem like reasonable requests that address both the immediate crisis and longer-term issues. What's your timeline for implementation? I can restore system functionality immediately, I said. The promotion and recognition should be immediate as well. The systematic review can begin within 30 days. Eric Garcia conferred quietly with board members before responding. We need to address Matthew's role in this situation. His account differs significantly from yours. I anticipated that I replied, displaying additional emails and meeting notes documenting Matthew's pattern of behavior. I've maintained meticulous records precisely because I anticipated denial. The boardroom doors opened, and Matthew entered, his face flushed with anger. This is outrageous, he began before Eric cut him off. Matthew, we're discussing serious concerns about attribution and advancement practices in your department, Eric stated firmly. Multiple documentation sources indicate a pattern of claiming credit for Flora's work while blocking her promotion. That's completely false, Matthew sputtered. Flora is a valuable technical contributor but lacks leadership qualities. Define those qualities, Janet Phillips challenged. Because her documentation shows team leadership, mentoring junior engineers, and developing strategic security architecture that forms the foundation of our platform. As Matthew struggled to respond, the doors opened again. Samantha entered, followed by 3 female engineers from various departments. We asked Samantha to gather additional perspectives, James explained. Given the seriousness of these issues, for the next hour, these women shared experiences mirroring mine. Projects attributed to male managers. Ideas dismissed until restated by men. Promotions delayed despite exceptional performance. Matthew grew increasingly defensive as the pattern became undeniable. His final attempt at justification, "This is just how the industry works," drew audible disapproval from board members. Eric Garcia called for a brief recess. When the meeting reconvened 30 minutes later, his demeanor had changed. The board has made several decisions, he announced. First, Matthew Reynolds is placed on administrative leave, pending further investigation into management practices. Second, Flora Thompson is appointed Director of Security Systems, effective immediately, with appropriate compensation adjustment. Third, Brad Thompson returns to his previous role, with mentoring to address technical gaps. Fourth, we will engage an external consultant to review our attribution and advancement practices company-wide. He turned to me directly. We also request your immediate assistance restoring the system for a rescheduled investor demonstration tomorrow morning. I'll restore functionality right now, I agreed. And I'll personally ensure the demonstration proceeds flawlessly tomorrow. Relief visibly swept through the room. As the meeting concluded, Janet Phillips approached me. This took tremendous courage, she said quietly. The company is better for it, though some may take time to recognize that. I spent the next hour restoring the authentication module, a process that required only minutes of actual work, but which I stretched to emphasize the system's complexity. James Wilson watched with new respect as I navigated the security architecture that only I fully understood. The rescheduled demonstration the following morning proceeded perfectly. The authentication module performed flawlessly, now properly attributed to me in the presentation materials. I stood beside Eric Garcia, rather than in the audience, acknowledged as the architect of the system's security foundation. Surprisingly, the investors showed increased interest after learning about the security verification feature that had interrupted the previous demonstration. That level of protection is exactly what our financial clients need, commented one venture capitalist. By afternoon, term sheets for $110 million, $20 million more than originally discussed, awaited signatures. As we celebrated the successful funding round, Eric Garcia publicly acknowledged my contributions to the platform. The security architecture developed by Flora Thompson represents the innovative spirit we foster at TechNexus, he told the assembled investors and employees. The words rang slightly hollow given recent events, but they marked the beginning of change. Public recognition long withheld finally acknowledged my role in building the company's future. 6 months passed quickly in my new role as Director of Security Systems. The transition brought expected challenges, from establishing authority with team members to navigating executive politics. Yet each challenge proved surmountable with skills I had possessed all along, skills Matthew had dismissed with his arrogant laugh. My first initiative established a mentoring program specifically for women in technical roles. 20 female engineers from various departments joined, creating a support network that quickly became a valuable resource for navigating company politics and ensuring appropriate credit for innovations. Rachel Stevens returned to TechNexus as Chief Information Security Officer, a position created specifically to elevate security considerations in product development. Her return signaled changing company culture and provided crucial executive support for initiatives addressing gender disparity. Matthew never returned from administrative leave. Official communications cited his departure as pursuing other opportunities, but industry channels understood the real story. Several female engineers from other companies contacted me privately, sharing similar experiences with him at previous employers. His pattern extended beyond TechNexus, leaving damaged careers in his wake. Brad Thompson initially struggled with his return to a senior engineer role. Our first one-on-one meeting was understandably tense. I didn't know what was happening behind the scenes, he offered awkwardly. Matthew told me you weren't interested in the director position. That was never true, I replied. But moving forward, I'd like us to work together effectively. You have valuable skills that complement the team. Over time, our professional relationship improved. Brad possessed strong communication abilities that, when properly directed, enhanced our department's collaboration with other teams. He eventually acknowledged that the director role had overwhelmed him, especially regarding security architecture he didn't fully understand. My relationship with James Wilson evolved into a productive alliance. As vice presidents, we collaborated on strategic initiatives with mutual respect that had been impossible in my previous position. He became an unexpected advocate for examining gender disparities in technical attribution. I missed things I should have seen, he admitted during one late evening strategy session. Watching brilliant engineers like you struggle for recognition while others claimed credit for your work. Most men do, I replied without accusation. The system works for them, so they don't question it until forced to see the disparities. The company implemented formal attribution policies, ensuring all contributors received proper credit for innovations. Technical presentations now included the names of primary architects rather than only the presenting executives. Patent applications listed actual inventors rather than department heads. These changes, while seemingly minor, transformed how intellectual contributions were valued and recorded. 3 months into my directorship, I received an industry recognition award for the authentication system. Standing on stage accepting the honor that should have come years earlier provided a measure of vindication. More important was bringing Samantha and 2 junior female engineers on stage with me, acknowledging their contributions to recent enhancements. The healing process happened gradually. Some days anger still surfaced when reflecting on years of marginalization. Other days brought satisfaction in watching female engineers receive recognition previously denied them. The company culture shifted incrementally, with occasional resistance from executives comfortable with previous norms. Janet Phillips became my mentor, offering guidance on executive leadership from her perspective as the only female board member. Your technical brilliance got you here, she advised. Your leadership will determine your impact moving forward. I established monthly forums where engineers could present innovations directly to executive leadership without manager filtering. These sessions revealed talent previously obscured by hierarchical barriers, particularly among women and minorities whose voices had been systematically muted. The investor funding enabled company expansion, including my security team growing from 7 to 15 engineers. I implemented blind resume screening, resulting in a more diverse candidate pool than previous hiring rounds. My team soon included 7 women among 15 total engineers, compared to the previous ratio of 1 woman among 7. Occasionally, I encountered Matthew at industry events. He secured a position at a smaller competitor, though at a significantly lower level than his TechNexus role. We acknowledged each other with professional nods, but never spoke directly. His legacy at TechNexus faded as new leadership models emerged. The most profound change came in my relationship with my own work. After years of seeking validation from a system designed to withhold it, I reclaimed ownership of my contributions and discovered leadership qualities Matthew had deliberately overlooked. My technical expertise, combined with genuine concern for team members' development, created a department known for both innovation and retention. 1 year after the failed demonstration, TechNexus completed another funding round, this time for $200 million. The company valuation reached $2 billion, positioning us for potential public offering. During the celebration, Eric Garcia publicly credited the security architecture as a key differentiator, attracting investor confidence. Looking back, what would you have done differently? Samantha asked during a rare evening when we left the office at a reasonable hour. Advocated for myself sooner and more directly, I replied without hesitation. Documented everything from day one. Built alliances with other women experiencing similar treatment. Recognized that no amount of technical brilliance overcomes systemic barriers without direct confrontation. Do you regret the demonstration incident? She asked carefully. I regret the necessity, I clarified, but not the action itself. Some systems won't change until failure becomes more painful than reform. My story spread through industry networks, usually without my name attached. A female engineer at a major tech company, the narrative began detailing how reclaiming ownership of her work forced acknowledgement of systematic discrimination. The anonymized version inspired others to examine attribution patterns in their organizations and advocate for proper recognition. The experience transformed my approach to career development. I now advise every engineer, especially women, to maintain detailed records of contributions, to build networks of allies who witness their work, and establish direct communication channels with leadership beyond immediate supervisors. Most importantly, I encourage them to recognize their value, independent of organizational validation. The security module that triggered this transformation continues powering the next-gen platform now, with a team of engineers ensuring its ongoing development. The architecture still bears my distinctive approach, a digital signature more permanent than any attribution policy. Have you ever been overlooked despite your contributions? Has someone else taken credit for your work? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to hear more authentic workplace experiences and strategies for addressing them. Like and share this video to help others recognize and confront workplace injustice. Remember, your work has value that deserves recognition, and sometimes standing your ground changes not just your career, but the system itself. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you the courage to advocate for your worth in whatever field you pursue.